For about 20 minutes now, and this crossover SUV has been all over the place. We've followed this driver on the 405 heading south. They went on to the 55, and now they have gotten off and they're on Surface Street. So right now you can see he's on Bristol Street and Paularino Avenue, but the behavior of this driver has been very erratic, going up to speeds of 100 miles per hour or more on the 405. Here it looks like they're doing about 70, but they have been weaving in and out of traffic, doing rapid U-turns, pulling into parking lots and flipping a U-turn and pulling out, just to really put law enforcement kind of on edge here. And look at that. Now that driver going on the wrong side of the road here. This is on Bristol Street near Anton Boulevard. Even though there are not that many drivers out on the road, continuing to just drive erratically, getting back on the right side of the road now. But it appears this person doesn't seem to have any idea of what's going on, at least around them. Once again, just flying through intersections. And we have Bruce Thomas on the line, our law enforcement expert. And Bruce, as you've been watching this, you've been seeing the high speeds and the erratic driving and the behavior of this driver. What do you think is on the minds of the CHP officers following this driver right now?
I know the pursuit was initiated by Anaheim PD, and the details of the initiation are very, very few, and from what we've been able to gather. But the speeds, like you said, have been over 100 miles on the freeway. He's doing close to 70, 80 on surface streets, wrong side of the road. This is definitely somebody that they want to take into custody, however, at what cost?
Absolutely. We're now in the Santa Ana area, and there you go. Wow, that was a very close call, almost getting hit by that car as it was as this driver was swerving around traffic. I've seen a couple of times where this driver either almost got hit by a car or hit another car. So far, we haven't seen any kind of collision yet. But Bruce, you know, going speeds of 70 miles per hour on surface streets here, very dangerous. It looks like the CHP is kind of pulling back a little bit. Is that a technique you see here? I guess they're kind of still trailing behind, yeah, but what are your thoughts as you're watching this?
Well, my thoughts would be, as a watch commander, what are we chasing? Why are we chasing it? And are the speeds to the point where they're so dangerous that we are endangering the public to take someone into custody for an unknown crime at this point? My guess would be that this is some sort of felony crime suspect or suspects that they want to take into custody.
Yeah, it's certainly tough when you're seeing this person, these drivers in particular, just put other people at risk, Bruce. Wow, another close call right there on the shoulder as that driver passed another car and almost hit that person. I feel like we are just moments away from some sort of collision, Bruce, and that's always what puts us on edge here in the studio.
Yeah, you know, you're in the Santa Ana area now. You're approaching Anaheim. There are people out and about. It is a Saturday night. Even with COVID, there are people that have gone out to dinner and done some socializing. So traffic is a little more heavy than we have seen in the past couple of months. But this suspect is now, he's doing almost, 80 miles an hour and just passing cars on the right and on the wrong side of the road. This is definitely a danger to the public.
An interesting move here, the CHP blocking the intersection in advance, anticipating this driver is going to be flying through the intersection. Very smart move on their behalf. Yeah,
if you can get information like this, and the streets that he's on, Bristol, it looks like Cuban, in that area of Santa Ana PD knows where he is basically in their city. So they have units that will block the intersection to make it safe for the uninvolved motorists in this case. It's a very, very defined street, so they can set up, as they say, to block traffic.
Yeah, and you see it right here again at Bristol Street and West 1st Street. He has been, or this driver has been on Bristol, just heading northbound for quite some time now. And if that driver continues on, eventually they will run into the 22 and the 5 interchange. And it'll be interesting to see if he stays on these surface streets, which, as we know, as we always discuss, or end up being more dangerous because there's more risk of pedestrians and other cars, or if he's going to get back onto the 5. We did see him on the 405 going to the 55 and then get off on surface streets. So anticipating here what this person's next move will be. But this is a pretty dangerous pursuit, Bruce, that we've seen, just in the last few weeks.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Veronica. In this case, you almost want to say Santa Ana PD is kind of guiding him to get back to the 22, to get onto a freeway where it's much safer to have a pursuit if there is such a thing.
And in a situation like this where you're not seeing, you are seeing traffic, obviously, but it's certainly less than what it would be during the day. Would this be an ideal time of day for a pit maneuver on surface streets?
Yeah, definitely. You have to have an operational area to do a pit maneuver. The speeds cannot be real great either, because what you don't want to create is a 3,000-pound car totally out of control. The idea of the pit maneuver is to hit it, spin it, and then, box it in, so to speak. The U-turns that he's doing are dangerous, no question about it.
Yeah, look at that. His second U-turn on this street here. It looks like he's trying to evade authorities by going southbound, then northbound. But that obviously isn't working here, as there are so many officers on the ground. And of course, from the air with that night sun shining down on this crossover, I'm wondering if we can get any kind of look at this car, inside the car, if there's any look at the driver that we can get a closer look. It's hard to say just because those windows are so tinted, and of
He's
course
on his cell phone.
it's night, but it looks like the driver might be on their cell phone. Yeah, that glare that you see there, possibly looking at his phone, maybe looking up directions, or possibly talking to someone else, Bruce.
Yeah, an ideal situation would be he's talking to relatives who are talking to law enforcement authorities saying, hey, so-and-so wants to surrender, but he's afraid now. What's the best way to handle this? And they're going to try to talk him down. In this case, CHP on a second U-turn, they did have an ideal area to do a pit maneuver. They have to get permission to do that, and the vehicle has to be equipped with some different fenders that the CHP vehicles have. So a pit maneuver is definitely authorized, but it has to be done in a certain area and a certain speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like this driver decided not to jump onto the 22 and continued on Bristol, which becomes Lavetta Avenue. And if he continues in this direction, that actually heads straight to St. Joseph Hospital. And so hopefully, where did they go? Okay, now, all right, where are they now?
Looks like they may have gotten on the freeway, maybe, or some sort of toll road.
Yeah, it's Lavetta Avenue. Okay, so we are still on Lavetta Avenue, and this is heading toward a business area where there are many businesses, restaurants. Of course, with COVID-19, things are a little different right now, but quickly approaching a very busy area. And it looks like, passing right through the Children's Hospital now, the OC Children's Hospital there, passing through that complex and just continuing on. Doesn't appear to be slowing down a little bit. It's almost as if this driver is trying to figure out what their next move is, Bruce.
Yeah, he may not be familiar with the area whatsoever, so he doesn't really know where he's going. He's just kind of following the streets. But CHP is being a little more aggressive now. They're getting right on him. We may see a pit maneuver if the speeds stay low like they are now.
He seems to be, the CHP officer seems to be inching closer and closer and closer as this driver continues on. And, still not necessarily driving erratically because there's no other cars on this road at this point. But anytime there are other vehicles in the way, it appears that this driver just will do anything to evade authorities. Now it looks like we're getting into more of a neighborhood area with stop signs will be interesting to see if, this driver slows down. Looks like, nope, we're just going to run right through that stop sign and go 60 miles in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, Bruce.
Yeah, he's definitely, the speeds are elevated. There are certain mandates in pursuits that the police will have so many miles over the speed limit in order to conduct a pursuit. Once the speeds get so egregious, the watch commander may cancel the pursuit based on that.
Yeah, and what's scary is that there have been so many close calls during this pursuit. We've only been tracking him, this driver, for just about 20, 30 minutes now. And look at that right there, or from earlier, just a few minutes ago, just ripping past drivers. And looks like here on our live side, continuing to blow through stop signs in this neighborhood on South Cambridge and East Almond Avenue. Still in Orange County, and officers are still right behind. Oh, there. Okay, so almost had a collision, but he decided to make a turn. Bruce, it to me, just from looking at this, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are, but it appears that this driver might not be impaired just because of the quick reflexes from avoiding other drivers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the assumption that alcohol and or drugs are probably not a factor in this. You have someone that was wanted for something by Anaheim PD. My guess is maybe a traffic violation that escalated, or a vehicle that's stolen, or, in this case, it could be a felony suspect. But the fact that they are maintaining this pursuit at these speeds and some dangerous things we've seen leads me to believe that this is a suspect in an egregious felony type vehicle.
Absolutely. We are, just for those joining us, we're in the Orange area right now. Looks like this driver is heading toward Chapman University, if you're familiar with that area, Chapman Avenue and South Clark Street. We don't know what this driver is wanted for, but the Anaheim Police Department was the initial agency to initiate this pursuit. Then CHP took over, and of course we are now on surface streets, so that goes back to local law enforcement. And local law enforcement has been doing a good job setting up blockades at intersections to make sure that nobody else gets hurt or involved. We've seen a lot of close calls, as we just showed you, and this person is driving, or has been driving, at very high speeds, even on the surface streets, not necessarily reaching 100 miles per hour like this person did on the highway, but certainly going fast, Bruce.
Yeah, what I'm seeing from Air 7 HD, you're looking at speeds anywhere from 50 to 65 miles an hour on these surface streets. So the speeds are getting up there a lot. However, we are seeing very, very minimal traffic, which is a good thing for law enforcement in this pursuit.
Definitely. And they're still keeping a close watch, tailing very closely behind. Looks like, okay, now he is going to get onto an on-ramp, and looks like we are on the 57 freeway northbound. So off to the races potentially once again, Bruce, and this certainly makes it safer for on surface streets, but this person, I anticipate, will be driving fast again, and there they go, speeding up, crossing through lanes, and just taking off there, Bruce.
Yeah, now you're looking at speeds close to 80 miles an hour on the freeway. The pursuing CHP vehicles. The nice thing about it is the helicopter is calling the pursuit. So the CHP officers in the pursuit can concentrate on the suspect vehicle, traffic, and being, more relaxed than anything else, because they don't have to worry about direction of travel, cross traffic. That's all being called for them by the helicopter.
Yeah, I imagine that is very helpful. If this driver continues on the 57, they're in the Anaheim area right now. If they continue on the 57, they'll be in the Placentia area, but the 91 interchange is coming up soon. So we'll be monitoring to see which direction this driver decides to go. But yeah, they are flying past all of the few cars that are on the road over speeds of 100 miles an hour, coming down to 80 miles per hour. But we did see more than 100 miles per hour earlier when this person was on the 405. We got a close look.
The other thing, Veronica, also, it started in Anaheim, and he's going back to Anaheim. So maybe he's going back to an area that he's familiar with, or maybe that's why he's been on the phone saying, look, I'm going to go back to my house or to my hood, and I'd like to surrender there.
Very interesting that you say that, because yes, I feel like when we watch these pursuits and they continue to circle in the same area, particularly in neighborhoods, almost waiting for that chance to bail out and run away, they tend to go to areas where they know that they're going to be able to find a place to go, or that they're familiar with the roads. We saw this person possibly on their cell phone when we got a close look at the driver's side. And so possibly looking at navigation, but you're right. The fact that he is going back to the Anaheim area could be very telling.
Yeah, he might be going back to an area where he has friendlies, so to speak, who he can, go into the arms of relatives or friends who will maybe shield him and negotiate the surrender in this case.
So now we're going 90 miles per hour. Looks like he is... Okay, so he's still on the 57. Oh, now we're going to be moving to the 91 East. Okay, there we go. Nope, never mind. All right, we're back on the 57. Thought about it for a second going on to, now, all right. Is this an exit ramp? We're just going to follow this and see where he goes here. Still on the 57, but looks like we're going back onto surface streets possibly, if this is an exit. Okay, nope. Now we're going on the 91 West, according to SkyMap. And it's always tricky when there's some interchanges here. Okay, great. So now we're on the 91 West. And near exit 30. So it doesn't look like this guy has a plan, Bruce.
Yeah, it looks like he's just transitioning freeway after freeway now that he's back on the freeway. But he is staying in the Anaheim area, heading west. He's going to head back maybe to the Santa Ana area in that part of Orange County. But, this SUV of some sort, it almost looks like maybe an Audi crossover of some sort, but he may have a full tank of gas, and he's going to ride this out.
Yeah, most definitely. It appears that way, going about 90 miles per hour on the 91 West. There is some traffic. I mean, it is 11 o'clock, so you're not going to see that heavy flow that we normally see during the day there of cars, but still some potential cars to potentially smash into, which we hope does not happen. Looks like this person now, well, no, he's staying along the edge. It's almost like he is deciding where to go. Now he's going to weave through to the far side there, and just kind of crisscross through traffic. But it's like he's just kind of making this up on the fly, staying in the Orange County area, but just circling Anaheim and going all over the place, Bruce.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes while he's on the 91. There are numerous exits he can take, but it seems like he is content to stay in the middle of the freeway and weave in and out of some of the more moderate traffic that we've seen. It does look like there's 3 CHP vehicles involved in this pursuit. And one thing about CHP in pursuits, they can hand off to another CHP station, so they'll always have fresh officers in the pursuit. And people say, well, what does he mean by a fresh officer? That's an officer who has not been fixated on the pursuing vehicle for a certain amount of time. They come in fresh with a different mindset, a more relaxed mindset.
Oh, that's very interesting, because when you're in the moment, it's very high stress, your adrenaline's running high. Does that potentially hurt your ability to be a pursuing officer?
It does, because, with the twist of you're amped up, your adrenaline is going because you're chasing somebody, and ultimately that is kind of like the most important thing that police do is a pursuit. And I don't mean important in that sense, but it's more the amped up thing. So when you can switch out and bring somebody fresh in who's not amped up, that's a good thing for everybody involved.
All right, well, now we are about 2 miles away from the 5 interchange. So we'll see if this driver decides to jump on the 5, which would take this person in a different direction. You know, he's been on the 405, the 55, the 91, pretty much all over the place, surface streets. Happy to see that we're not on surface streets anymore because it causes a potentially more dangerous situation, but certainly weaving in and out of traffic when there are cars in the way, like right now, and still, you know, picking up speeds, approaching 90 miles per hour. Haven't seen this person hit 100 miles per hour in a little bit there, but you can see the flashing lights still right behind, and they're not letting up. Usually, Bruce, we see they kind of back off as not to antagonize the driver, but they are hot on his trail.
Yeah, and that leads me to believe that this is a pursuit for more than a traffic violation. It could be a stolen car, or as I stated earlier, some egregious felony, maybe an assault with a deadly weapon, or a burglary vehicle, or something like that. Because they, you know, with the speeds being what they are, as a watch commander, I probably would have called off the units and gone into what they call a surveillance or tracking mode with the helicopter, and then set up units in the area. So if he does pull over and does foot bail, that we have a containment set up and can take him or her into custody safely.
Very interesting. And it looks like still on the cell phone there, either if there is a passenger, possibly the passenger or the driver, but from that close shot from Air 7 HD, looks like somebody is on their phone inside that car. And as Bruce just mentioned, you know, CHP officers trailing closely behind. Now we are on the 90, we're still on the 91 near exit 23. So this is Buena Park. But no, it doesn't appear that this person has any clear direction from what we have seen, just continuing to weave in and out of traffic. We've had a few close calls, if we can bring those up, just to show how reckless this person has been in the last 30 minutes or so. You can see there on the right side of your screen from earlier there, just several close calls as this person maneuvered around people on surface streets. Happy to see that back up onto the freeways and the highways to avoid this kind of danger that you're seeing on the right side of your screen there. And, you know, Bruce, it's just a good thing that it's so late. It's almost 11:30 at night, and so we're just not seeing a whole lot of traffic on the 91.
Yeah, and that's definitely the nice thing. His speeds are hovering 100, and then he drops down to maybe in the mid-80s. But the fact that he's on a freeway with very, very light traffic is a very good thing for the general safety of the public, the officers, and believe it or not, even the suspect.
Yeah, because the suspect is certainly putting themselves at risk. And if there's passengers in the car, also putting those passengers at risk. You know, we've seen times when we didn't think that there was anybody else in the car and then, you know, 3 other people jumped out. It's just so hard to tell because it's dark and the windows are tinted where this person, you know, how many people are in the car. But we do know that he is on the 91 in the Anaheim area, kind of near Cerritos, Knott's Berry Farm, for those who are familiar with that area. Looks like, though, slowing down a little bit, going 50 miles per hour. Oh, and my director says that they just threw something out the window, which is also always telling, Bruce. It almost appears, is he coming to a stop?
You know, it looks like he's definitely slowing down. I mean, he's gone from, 100 miles an hour to under 50 now.
Yeah.
He may have thrown a cell phone out of the window.
Okay, hands out
and
the door.
Basically, it looks like we're going to come to a felony traffic stop now and terminus this pursuit.
Wow. I mean, from 0 to 60 and back down to 0 so quickly, Bruce. Now he's just, okay, he's putting both of his hands out. It appears that this person is following the direction of officers. Okay.
Yeah, Veronica, I almost want to say he was talking to somebody on the cell phone, and maybe they told him to pull over and stop now and just give up, and he got upset and threw that cell phone out the window.
Although, okay, typically they want him on the ground, right? For him to be...
Yeah, some different agencies do some different things.
Okay.
Typically, what they'll do is they'll order him to walk back to the officers so the officers can take him into custody within the cover of their patrol cars. In this case, this person does appear to be a little bit confused, but we should be seeing him turn around, facing away from the officers, and then walking back to their voice. The last thing they want to do is this guy to run over the center medium and to go into oncoming traffic. So it looks like they may have to swarm and take him into custody.
Yeah, it looks like that's what they're doing right now. They have, the taser at the ready. I can see the lights there, and they got him into custody. And there he goes. The end of a very dangerous high-speed pursuit. We still don't know what this person was wanted for by Anaheim police, but CHP got involved. We're on the 91, so I am assuming that traffic on the 91 here is just backed up and stopped while they clean this up. But Bruce, we appreciate your insight as we watch this person, have several close calls. Luckily, there was no serious crashes, no crashes at all, and we're happy to see this come to a peaceful end, Bruce.
Yep. You got the best conclusion you could ask for. There was no use of force by the officers, so it's pretty minimal as far as tying up traffic. They're moving the cars out of the way. They'll open up the freeway, and this guy goes to jail for the weekend.